Okay. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for this special end of year Mujeres Fuertes event celebration, update for donors and allies, and documentary screening. We really just tried to squeeze it all into 1.5 hour event. Before I begin sharing sort of our strategic plan and update on the project, I just want to give a little bit of context. The intention here is really twofold. One is to be really transparent about where our project is heading, how we're using funds, how we plan to use funds for all of our donors who have really generously been supporting our fundraising campaign and helping us reach our goal of becoming a truly self-sustaining social enterprise. And then two, to share that same information, but with our colleagues and allies in the empowerment self-defense movement, because if anyone can take ideas from what we're doing and apply it to their work in this movement, then that would be fantastic. You know, we're doing a lot of trial and error right now. So anything that we're learning, if that can benefit somebody else, all the better. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. A couple of disclaimers. I'm in Costa Rica. It's rainy. I'm in the mountains. So if there's a delay, please unmute and let me know so I can backtrack. And while I am presenting, I won't be able to see you. So if you have a question, feel free to unmute and just ask and interrupt me. There will also be time for questions at the end and before we get into the documentary. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here we are. Can everyone see my screen? State of the Holistic Self-Defense Revolution. Great. I guess I should introduce myself. I know everyone here does know me, but my name is Toby Israel. I'm the founder of Mujeres Fuertes Autodefensa. In English, I've decided to start calling it Women Empowered Self-Defense because I know the name can be a bit challenging to pronounce, and I want people to be able to pronounce the thing that they're supporting. So Women Empowered Self-Defense. And just to make sure that we are all starting off on the same page, I want to give you a quick recap of who we are. Mujeres Fuertes Autodefensa is a Costa Rican-based social business dedicated to providing holistic self-defense training. We are Costa Rican-based. We do have a global vision. We have provided training already in Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Mexico. And in the future, I would love for us to keep expanding beyond Costa Rica, but we're really focusing our operations as we sort of get our feet under us here in Costa Rica. We work to connect our participants with a sense of personal power and freedom and agency through self-defense training. In a moment, I'll get into exactly what holistic self-defense means to me. But just to give you an idea, our slogan for Mujeres Fuertes is find your no, live your yes. And we really deeply believe that holistic self-defense training is a life practice through which we can access greater joy, deeper healing, and more pleasure. So we're looking at self-defense as a path to healing, a path to connection, and not only an end unto itself, even though violence prevention is already a very worthy goal. So what exactly is holistic self-defense? I was at a dinner recently and I just realized I can see you if I toggle back to the other page. So this is great. I like getting the feedback and seeing you nodding along as I'm speaking. So I was recently at a dinner with a bunch of people I hadn't met before. And when I told them what I do, that I teach holistic self-defense, the follow-up question 100% of the time is, well, what does that mean? What is holistic self-defense? And so I very recently had practice answering that question about 10 times in one night. And really every day when I talk to people about my work, I like to dig in a little bit to the explanation. I like that it's not 100% self-evident because it gives me the opportunity to give the longer answer about what it is that we do. And so in broad strokes, I know holistic is kind of a buzzword, but I really am using that word very literally. We look at our participants as whole people, whole humans. So they are not just bodies that need defending, but also minds, hearts, and spirits. Along with that, we look at patriarchal violence along a spectrum, not only as physical violence, but also as psychological violence, emotional violence, domestic abuse, street harassment, and economic violence, among others. And we're providing tools ranging from physical to verbal, to emotional, to intuitive, to somatic, to help people tap into their power, tap into their boundaries, and respond to all kinds of violence along that spectrum. Because of my background in mindfulness and yoga, we also draw a lot from somatic practices and healing arts, and we bring in a lot of mindfulness, self-regulation, meditation, yoga, tapping, and all of these really wonderful practices that really complement self-defense training. I'm going to talk in a moment more about what it means to scale impact, but to give you a broad sense of what it is we're doing here on the ground, we've begun to implement train the trainer programs. We've trained 2 cohorts of holistic self-defense instructors in the last year and a half, and they are already teaching their work. Many of them are already teaching their workshops as well around the country. We started, and I'll talk more about this, we started with direct-to-participant retreats and workshops, and I love a retreat model. It's a holistic self-defense retreat, blending self-defense training, yoga and meditation, really nourishing food, community and sisterhood, and connection to nature. However, we are sort of shifting away from direct-to-participant offerings because they are really labor intensive for us. They take a lot of time to put together and relatively low impact. Not that impact is only measured by numbers. However, as we're trying to expand as a business, the numbers matter as well. And we're shifting our attention more now to corporate, government, and private clients. So that could be family groups. We've worked a couple times with the Ministry of Culture and Youth. We've worked with a lot of businesses, so clients who already have the group and want to bring us in to provide the training. We also have a free online workshop series. We have a totally self-directed online course. We do all kinds of collaborations online and on the ground. We're very active in social media, providing a lot of free and direct education about our methodology and our techniques to people online. And as I think you all know, we released our documentary earlier this year, and we're starting to bring that to communities as well with documentary screenings and forums. And it's sort of, I would say our work right now, it falls into 2 main buckets if I had to sum it up. So there's the internal Mujeres Fuertes ecosystem. So that's training trainers, providing sort of community building, ongoing training for new instructors, free activities, community activities. That's one bucket. And then the other bucket is sort of our for-profit model of providing workshops to corporate clients, government clients. Schools is on the docket for next year, we hope, and things like that. This is really the crux of what I want to talk about. A couple years ago, I started to ask myself this question: how do you scale empowerment? At that time, I was one of, I think we were 5 empowerment self-defense instructors on the ground in Costa Rica. So 5 people that had trained with Empowerment Self-Defense Global. That's the organization that trained me as an instructor in 2018. And I was teaching a ton of workshops and retreats, and we had put together this brand, and I was getting a lot of work and a lot of inquiries coming in, and it felt like I was having an amazing impact, and the people who were helping me were all really excited about this work. But at the end of the day, there was a hard limit to how much of an impact I could have, because I was just one person trying to respond to all of the demand that was coming in for this incredible methodology that I wanted to share, that had been gifted to me, and now that I wanted to share with people here in Costa Rica. And so I started to ask myself, well, how do you get over that limit of one person, and the hours in the day for that one person, and just the amount of energy that I felt like I had to give trainings, which is a lot, but not limitless. And how do I make this truly sustainable? Because at some point, maybe I'll move away. At some point, maybe I'll want to do something else. At some point, maybe I'll want to go back to school. And how do I ensure that this movement continues regardless of my presence in it? I just didn't want it to depend only on me anymore. And since I started asking myself that question, I really started to shift my focus to scaling impact. That's when the teacher trainings came in. Since 2022, as I mentioned, we've completed 2 teacher trainings in Costa Rica, training a total of 20 new instructors. We have reached, through Mujeres Fuertes workshops and activities, over 1,000 participants in the last couple of years. Our participants have already, our graduates, sorry, our instructor trainees have already reached hundreds more, and that will continue to grow exponentially, I hope, as they become more confident in their teaching, as they start to teach more regularly, as we start to bring more potential work to them, and as we continue to train more instructors. We already have our next training scheduled for 2024. We also premiered our documentary at a local cinema in San Jose, Costa Rica, just last month. The documentary also premiered on national television on 2 different channels. In Costa Rica, I'm starting to nag every television station in the US that I can get my hands on an email for, and we're trying to get distributed on Spanish language television in the US as well. We've collaborated with all kinds of foundations, businesses, government institutions, and festivals as well. And not on this list of celebrations, because it's maybe not as glamorous, but I think it does deserve celebration as well. We've begun a massive outreach campaign with our core Mujeres Fuertes team. We've already reached out to hundreds of schools, businesses, hotels, and we're going to continue to reach out and try to bring in more clients, more allies, more collaborators for the Mujeres Fuertes team and for our new instructors as they begin to incorporate into the team. I want to pause and make sure that everyone can hear me okay and see if anyone has questions so far. Okay. I will keep going because I did promise this would be short and sweet, and I want to get to introducing the team soon, which is one of the things I'm really excited to do today. So even though I'm talking about scaling, I'm talking about, reaching more people, getting bigger numbers, the numbers don't tell the whole story. I really believe that impact is very personal and it's very human. And I deeply believe that if you reach one person with this training, you change an entire life, potentially, and an entire community, because that one person goes and they share what they learned with their family, with their friends, with their colleagues, with their loved ones. And so every single person you touch with this kind of training has a huge ripple effect. And we've had workshops with 50 people, but we've also had workshops with 2 people or 3 people. And I know the other empowerment self-defense instructors here have had similar experiences. And it can be disappointing on the one hand when you are hoping for a bigger turnout for a workshop or event. On the other hand, I've had some really powerful 2-people workshops where those 2 people walked away with an incredible life-changing experience and knowledge that they were so excited about. So I believe that impact is human and it's very personal. And on that note, I'm going to stop presenting for a moment, and we have 2 of our core team here, and I'm going to invite them to introduce themselves because I want you to meet the people behind the scenes who are making a lot of this happen now. Blue, do you want to start?
Hi, hola, nice to meet you. Jean, welcome. It's good to see you. First, I'm very sorry if my English gets a bit stuck, but I'm a bit rusty. I'll do my best. Well, yeah, I'm Blue. I right now I'm the administrator of the project. So with the help of Io and Toby and all the other members, we are organizing the ¿cómo se diría? La empresa, the enterprise.
Mhm.
uh, okay, thank you. um, and doing all this outreach work, to to reach out all the people that would benefit from what we do. I'm also an instructor. I took the course last year, the first time that Toby did this amazing activity and course. I'm very nervous and excited because it's very important to me that this project succeeds, because it aligns with my life purpose in a way, to be able to help people understand themselves and all this enfoque. How would I say that? Um,
Focus
yeah, like all this uh,
or
way of
approach.
focusing approach all this approach, the holistic approach. It's about knowing yourself, and like Toby said, our slogan, it's find your no, live your yes. And the more we know ourselves, the more we can understand our limits, and this is something that we should have learned since we were kids. So it feels really important, for me to send this word out. And well, maybe I'm also an actress and I work with nonviolent communication, and I work with crystal healing and yoga for kids and many other things. And I feel very connected to this. And I remember when Toby was just starting, I was one of the people that went to many of the workshops and retreats, and I just got um, involved in this because I was so drawn to this knowledge, and I'm so happy to be here today because it means that yeah, there's already a path that has been walked, and I'm excited to see what jumps and turns in the air we can do with this. So I'm very happy to meet you all. Thank you.
Gracias, Blue. I want to add that before Blue was the administrator of this project, and even before she had trained as an instructor, she had assisted on a lot of our workshops and retreats. So she's been involved in this project for a long time. Darío, ¿estás ahí?
Can you see me? Yeah. Hi. Hello. I'm pretty honored to be here tonight. It's such a pleasure to see all these people connected to this cause. So, my birth name is Dario. Into the movement, I've been called Io. I've been called Iaris, and I don't care what they call me as long as they call me. So it was funny that I met Toby like 5 or 4 years ago. I don't know, and we connected through movement in a static dance, birthday party, whatever, without even knowing much about us. And not long after that, I helped her with her birthday party in a logistics operation thing. And a month after that, she offered me to help with Mujeres Fuertes, and I said yes to all of that. So it was such an organic and fluid way that we connected. And right now, into the movement, my job is to support the project behind the scenes. So I'm called Iaris, the messenger goddess. So initially, I was in charge of sending emails and sending WhatsApp messages and remind people of their workshops and itineraries and schedules and whatever. And right now I do all the things that are appointed to me if they want. I don't care as long as they can help. And I also do graphic design, not so long ago, so I've been working with that too. And it's really beautiful to the way that every workshop and every girl that gets in the training or whatever create a much deeper and greater web to learn to communicate with each other better and to listen to our bodies, which is, I mean, I guess is the way to go, to listen what our bodies needs and wants. So thank you.
Gracias, Dario. And I'm just going to call in Milena, who couldn't be here tonight because she was on her way back from a clinic getting a cast off her leg, which is good news. The cast is off, but she is not back home yet to join us. She is our community manager for more than the last year. She has been managing all of our social media content and communications and doing an amazing job at it. So if you see us on social media, that is Milena behind the scenes making that happen. I'm gonna go back to this. So I've pretty much covered all of this, but I want to quickly take you through where we've been and where we're heading, and basically what our strategy is moving forward with this project now that we have this amazing team. Blue, Dario, and Milena have officially been part of the Mujeres Fuertes team for 2.5 months now. That was when we had enough. I used to work in startups, so I would call it seed funding. So, and we had enough seed funding, and I told them let's just run with it and trust that the rest of the funding will come in as we go. So this dream team has been officially working together as a unit for the last 2.5 months. Mujeres Fuertes officially, I received my level 1 training with Empowerment Self-Defense Global in 2018 and immediately started giving workshops. After that, I do want to just state that we are standing on the shoulders of so many giants. The empowerment self-defense movement has roots going back 40 years or much more than that, depending on how you define the beginning of this movement. So we're coming in here, we've accomplished a lot in the last 5 years, but we've been able to accomplish so much because we're drawing on a methodology and a history of activism and action that goes decades back. And we've been able to learn from mentors who have decades of experience doing this work. And we've been collaborating and relying on their experience and their knowledge to achieve what we've achieved in the last 5 years. So I just want to acknowledge that. Since 2018, I would say Mujeres Fuertes, as under that name, officially launched early on in the pandemic. I had a lot of time on my hands, so I was able to create a website, create a brand, create social media channels, whereas before that time, it had really just been me acting as a facilitator and teaching some retreats that we had given the name Mujeres Fuertes. I also want to call in Karina. She was hoping to be here tonight, but couldn't be. She's also been part of this project since the beginning, and she is the reason that Mujeres Fuertes is called Mujeres Fuertes. She encouraged me to put together the first retreat and help come up with that name. I already talked about the teacher trainings. The Tour de Fuerza that you see there in 2021, that was sort of one of my first attempts to respond to all of the demand that was coming in for the training that we were offering. So we got someone to lend us a car for 2 weeks. We got a hostel chain to give us accommodation. And we drove around the country for 2 weeks and gave 12 self-defense workshops in 14 days in 11 locations. That's also what the documentary is based on. So if you're staying for the documentary tonight, that's the backstory to that. And coming up next weekend, we're going to have our first national gathering of holistic self-defense instructors. We're doing that in San Jose in Costa Rica, and our 2 generations of new instructor trainees are coming for 3 days of training, community building, and just sharing time together as well, because we want this to be not just a disparate network of people who teach the same thing, but a real community of people who are working together and collaborating. I'm hoping that will become an annual, if not a biannual, activity that we have. And that takes me to where we're heading. In 2024, I'm expecting to incorporate the first new instructors officially into the Mujeres Fuertes team. That implies a certain amount of practice hours, trauma-informed teaching course on top of their already trauma-informed teacher training, and a few other prerequisites. Building capacity is a big piece of the puzzle to getting this project to the scale that I want to get it to. So we need those instructors officially joining the team so that when all of these schools and businesses and hotels write us back saying, yes, we really want to work with you, we have enough capacity and woman power to send to all of those new clients and send to all of those new jobs. I will be doing a tour of the West Coast of the US in June of next year, I hope. I'm working to put that together right now to screen the documentary, give workshops, and generally build awareness about our work and do some fundraising. That would be June of next year. We have our 3rd teacher training on the schedule for 2024. I expect our outreach campaign to be really gaining a lot of steam by the middle of next year. And I am projecting that if our outreach campaign has the effects that I'm hoping it will have, that we'll more or less have reached 50% self-sufficiency by that time, meaning that we're bringing in 50% of the operating costs that we need to keep going with this team. 2025, I am projecting our first teacher training outside of Costa Rica. We have some connections in Panama, Nicaragua, and Guatemala, so I'm seeing which of those becomes the first out-of-country teacher training and also our first all-gender training in Costa Rica. We've had a few inquiries from male self-defense teachers or martial artists wanting to be part of the movement, so I would like to make that happen, and I think 2025 will be the year for us to offer that. I've been a little bit resistant to it, but I do think it's an important part of growing our movement as well. As I mentioned, annual or biannual instructor gatherings will be an ongoing thing. Distribution of our documentary hopefully will only continue to grow. Our free and paid community offerings will continue to grow. And I didn't mention this, another important piece of sort of building this network of instructors in Costa Rica is having a material library. Materials are very expensive, and they're more expensive in Costa Rica. Things like strike pads, printouts, other teaching materials like pool noodles or hula hoops as well. Strike pads are like the principal thing, and they're quite expensive. So we give each instructor one small strike pad when they do their training. I want to have a whole bank of materials on hand that people can check out at no cost so that there's lower barriers to them giving more and longer trainings without needing to put in that initial investment that we're putting in. And rather than have every instructor make that investment, we can just do it once and have those materials available for many of the instructors at once. It's not on here. It's not a priority necessarily. We don't have a physical space, and we're not necessarily designing this project to rely on a physical space. That said, it would be really cool at some point to develop one. So that is possibly in our future. And by 2026, I hope to be 100% self-sufficient as a social enterprise, bringing in everything that we need to keep this going without needing to come back to our funders and donors and ask them to continue to help us. So the way I'm looking at this plan, the idea is really we get this initial funding so that we can reach a point where we don't need any more funding. And the movement is completely self-sufficient without me as well. That would be the long-term goal, my long-term vision for this project, that it no longer needs me. Very quickly, these are operational costs in a nutshell. You've already met Blue, our administrator, and Dario, our communications and design assistant. Milena, our community manager, couldn't be here. There are some other yearly costs involved with legal filing. We are a Sociedad Anónima, which I think is an LLC in Costa Rica, so we have to file every year. Keeping a website costs something, accounting costs something, the material library I mentioned, I'd love to just keep growing that until we really have all of the materials that our team needs. Some marketing, and ideally we'll be able to do a fair bit of staff training. I'd like to be able to sponsor our team for things like trauma-informed teacher trainings, conferences, ongoing professional development as well. At some point in the future, I put in parentheses, as the director of the project, I'd love to pay myself a salary. That's the very last thing on the list. I will consider us self-sustaining even if we don't manage to cover that cost. And this is how we're going with our funding. Actually, we got another donation in after I made this presentation, so we're at $9,000 towards our goal of 60. That means we're about 15% funded. As I said, we're not waiting to reach 100 to get started. We already got started in October, and we're just going to keep going as long as we can and trust that the rest of the funding comes in, or that we reach self-sufficiency faster than I'm projecting, and we don't need all of the funding that we're going for. But I do want to say a huge thank you to everyone that has donated to this fundraising campaign, everyone that has supported by sharing with their networks, by giving advice, by reviewing materials that I asked them to look at and telling me what they think, for everyone who believes in what we're doing, who is curious about what we're doing, who asks good questions and makes us think more deeply about the ways that we're setting this project up and how we can do that better. And I'm really excited to keep sharing the journey with you and keep sharing our success stories as we continue to work towards our goal, both in terms of fundraising and in terms of becoming a fully self-sufficient social enterprise. If anyone wants the link to our fundraiser, if you'd like to share it, for example, I'm going to ask Lou to drop that into the chat. And I will pause now for questions, and then we'll have a pause, and then we'll share the documentary for those who have not seen it yet.
Toby, this is really fabulous. And I wonder if you could say a little bit more about what constitutes the teacher training, how long it is, and those kind of pieces.
Thank you for asking, because I meant to say that and it slipped right by me. Our teacher training is a 1-week immersive training that adds up to about 50 hours of training. It's on site. We use a farm about an hour outside of San Jose. So we start with activities at 7 in the morning and we go until 9 p.m. most of the days. Everyone agrees it's very intense, but also really powerful and effective. And then we have a year-long mentorship program. So I was the mentor for our first group, and for our second group that trained this year in October, Estefania, who trained in Mexico a few years ago and is a level 2 self-defense instructor with ESD Global. She's the mentor for our second cohort. So I'm trying to bring in different people from the region to also foster some dialogue and co-mentoring beyond Costa Rica and around the region of Latin America. That year of mentorship involves monthly online meetings. The national gatherings will also be part of that. So those opportunities for on-the-ground continued training. And they also have the opportunity to assist workshops with me or with other instructors who are now starting to teach. So those women are collaborating amongst themselves to co-facilitate workshops, and they're coming and assisting the workshops that I give so that they can get more practice hours and gain confidence teaching. Other questions?
I'm so impressed. I really love this project, and yeah, I'm so proud of all of you. And I've seen this project and known you from when we both first moved to Latin America. And so I'm just so excited to see this exponential growth after many years of planting the seed. And where do you see yourself outside Latin America? Different forms?
Thank you. It's a good question. Individually, like as myself as a facilitator, yes. I would love to maybe bring teacher trainings in our methodology outside of Latin America. I would love to keep facilitating beyond this region in the future, even though my focus for now is really here. For the brand and for the project Mujeres Fuertes, I'm not opposed to it becoming international or global, but I think, our roots are really in Costa Rica. I could see us expanding regionally. I don't think we need to expand more than that because we have so many incredible colleagues who are creating their own projects and their own networks in other parts of South America, in Mexico, all over Europe. This is already a global movement, and I think our role is really here in Costa Rica and Central America.
Thank you. That's
Thank
a great. I'm really happy to see Mujeres Fuertes in so many parts of Costa Rica and soon other nations as well. So congratulations to the team, and yeah, big hug.
Gracias, hermana. Probably time for one or two more questions, if there are any, and then we'll continue with the documentary. Okay, I will take that to mean there are no more questions. I want to thank you all again for taking the time to be here with us tonight, and for your curiosity and your interest and your support. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful to see your faces and know that you're out there cheering us on. And I hope that a year from now we can be sharing another end of year event and celebrating so many new achievements and new accomplishments with you. And again, a huge thank you to all of the donors who have made it possible for us to begin this work so quickly this year after, sort of launching the idea of becoming self-sufficient in this way. So thank you so much.